It's the first Big 12 battle for the Utes as they head to Stillwater for a showdown against Oklahoma State. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex on a Monday. You know what that means? Tons of stuff. JJ, is that what we should say?
That's a good way.
Tons of stuff
to describe it, because we're wading through the stuff.
Every Monday, man.
Every Monday. We have so much. We're spoiled as college football fans in this state. NFL fans, sports fans. We got Utah Hockey Club firing things up.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that later on in the week. Media Days on Wednesday, and the Jazz will soon follow. So you got what you wanted, Utah. We're a hot sports market.
Want to remind you, by the way, Hans and Scotty are going to be noon to 3. Their show is going to be at Chubby's Cafe and Vineyard for the BYU preview show. That's 576 North Mill Road there in Vineyard. Come taste for yourself what sets the Chubby's burgers apart from the rest. If somebody's making a burger and his name is Chubby,
I trust them.
Yeah.
They know what they're talking about.
I trust Chubby's with my burgers. Yeah.
I'm not going to go down to Slim's Burgers. No chance I'm going there.
No.
My business is going to Chubby.
Come on down to Vegan Masters. We've got your burger.
Hard pass.
Excuse you?
Hard pass.
All right, let's kick off the show as we always do. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. You've got to try the G2G Bar. It's a protein bar that tastes fantastic. You can find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places. In the refrigerated section, go ask your local gas station or whomever. Like I said, get the big packs at Costco. Get yourself set up. Let's get it going. Let's kick off the hour with the cut. As we always do, let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com for all your trusted local financial fiduciary needs. TrajanWealth.com. All right, JJ, the Big 12 power rankings, where should they be? Now, I'll give you a little bit of a preview because I don't know if Mitch Harper's put up his story yet, but I have access to.
Okay, I haven't seen them.
I haven't shown them to you. Oh, wait, now hold on a minute. You were going to ask me a question when we came back from the break. What was that question going to be? Oh, it's BYU spread. The BYU Kansas State spread.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, speaking of not looking at it. So right off the bat, the BYU Kansas State spread. I think Vegas is got some of the same trepidation to give BYU as much credit at 3-0 as some of the other 3-0 teams. I think people really, really, really like Kansas State too, and they had a nice performance against Arizona. They come to Provo, so whatever I have in my head, take 3 away from that. I'm going to say it is a 7.5-point game.
You looked.
I did not look.
You had.
I did not look. Is it right on?
Dead on.
I told you I should be working in Vegas.
7.5. BYU's a 7.5-point dog.
That means they're really. It really means they're a double-digit dog.
Right.
Like, you get 3 points at home.
You're a 7.5, so that's a 2. I mean, that's more than one score, right?
Right.
And you're at home. That's Is BYU getting disrespected by that? I don't think so. Because Kansas State's a top 15 team.
Why would you think that
I'm coming off a win over Arizona? Who was ranked.
You know that I've got my finger on the pulse of.
Boy, you sure do.
Of Jeremy's addictions. All right, that's
rubbing
off
on
the deal.
you.
I told you. That's the unfortunate thing about this. As a guy who has never placed a bet at a sports book on my life, I have never placed a bet at a sports book.
You sure are good at that stuff.
It's because I do pay
you
attention.
Should start.
I do pay attention to the lines. I thought maybe it would have opened up at like 10.
I think you have an economic opportunity available in your life.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I think you'd be good at it.
I think
Give it a shot.
I think you'd enjoy
Jeremy
Provo.
Will go to Wendover with
I think you'd enjoy Provo. I think you'd do well there.
I could see
taking some trips with
you
Jeremy.
and Jeremy in a Corvette.
Oh,
racing to the border.
We've got your room comped, Mr. Curie. I bet you do. After I give you a cajillion dollars, for sure. All right. No, I'm not going down. No, absolutely not. Speaking of which, the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift show, can I just have a quick aside and just tell you that I am so annoyed. I was annoyed last year. It's getting worse. And part of it's because you saw on because Travis Kelce hasn't been like phenomenal, and they'll show Taylor Swift every 2 seconds, including the time when there was an obvious hold on the play. A flag came out pretty early, and then the play turns into a touchdown, but you knew it was coming back.
Yeah.
Except for people who are unaware of what's going on in a football game, which I hate. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is when they're like, "Yay!" And then it's like when you're at the stadium. And when I was at BYU as a student, it was so hard to be like, "Stop it, everybody! There's a flag on the play. It was definitely a block in the back on number 9."
Yeah.
And they'd be like cheering, and they'd go, "Wait, what? Boo!" And they're just booing for no reason. I have no. And I when people are unaware of what's going on at the football game,
I tried to tell you.
It makes me so mad.
Did you catch the ending of the TCU UCF game?
I did. I went back and watched.
TCU had a kick to win it,
Yes.
and went wide right. Well, they had an ISO shot after the field goal of a woman in the crowd who thought the field goal was
she
good.
starts cheering,
And she didn't understand
No
why everyone
problem.
was upset.
Yeah. It
So,
was.
it
It's not a good look.
happens.
I don't like when people are not paying attention to the game that they're at. But that's like I said. That's just a pet peeve.
Kind of a
mine.
snobby fan.
I know, but I don't like when people don't know what's going on in the game. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to open up this. I'm gonna open this thing up, and I'm going to go to our rankings that we had on 1st and 12, and you'll be able to see this, I think, on Mitch's story probably by this evening. He'll have all the power rankings out, but let me just give you a sneak preview. Okay, we actually had a pretty big back and forth about where Utah and Oklahoma State should be. Not for me. He had Oklahoma State jumping Utah this week, and I said, "Explain yourself." Because I don't think that beating Tulsa at Tulsa is the same thing as beating Utah State at Utah State. Now, they beat the doors off of Tulsa. I don't know what Tulsa is as a team. I don't really keep up with the Golden Hurricane. I guess you could look at both as being a semi-equal situation, which is another school in the state that is a third program that gets, less attention than the other big programs, and a highly ranked national team coming to your place. It usually doesn't happen. So they had a very similar weekend. But I think that knowing that Cam Rising is going to be the guy who goes this week, I can't put anybody but Utah at number 1.
I agree. Remember, Utah has a win over Baylor, and it was a fairly convincing one.
Yeah.
Was there ever any doubt that Baylor had a chance to win that game?
No.
Even with Cam coming out. So people forget that. It's crazy what we forget in 1 week. Give Kansas State credit for doing what they did against Arizona. That was a really impressive win. And, again, same situation as Utah and Baylor. But Kansas State really put it to Arizona and made them look pretty mediocre. I'm going Utah, Arizona State 1-2.
Arizona State's going to be 2?
Sorry, Kansas State.
Okay.
I had Arizona
There you
and
go.
Kansas State on my mind.
All right.
Utah and Arizona, almost did it again. Kansas State, it's very close.
All right.
Because I think Kansas State has the most impressive victory with margin of victory if you factor it
Yeah,
in.
and I think that we were all thinking that Arizona game was going to be a little bit closer, a little bit more closely contested.
Some maybe thought Arizona was going to win it.
So we have, this is again what Mitch and I have come up with consensus between the two of us. Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, just because things really didn't change for any of those, at least for me. Iowa State not active this weekend, but I still have them at 4.
I agree with that.
UCF we've bumped up to 5.
Agree.
That TCU comeback
On
first
the
of all,
road, coming back, I love it.
they were down 3 scores
Yes.
when the second half started up, JJ.
It shows what they're capable of.
And you know what? I put it to bed. I was like, no, that's a bad game for UCF.
I almost sent you a text about, I guess UCF was a
right.
phony.
Nope. And
Glad
instead,
I didn't send that text.
Instead, they come back and they get the win. So UCF is 5. Arizona State we've put at 6. Now again, it's basic. These can tumble and they'll go up and down quite a bit. And you'll actually look and probably go, why do you have that team at dead last? Well, then we have BYU at 7. Arizona we've docked down to 8 because I don't know what you have with that team now. What do you have on that resume? You have a New Mexico game that you should have won by the amount that you won by, but you shouldn't have given up.
Too close for too long.
Why would you give up 39 points to a team that basically is anemic on offense?
They're not good. They're winless, by the way.
Right. And so who'd they lose
to? Lost to
Auburn?
Montana State.
Yeah, and Auburn.
They got blown out by Auburn.
And Auburn's not a good SEC team.
I know.
So we've got Arizona at 8, Colorado at 9. And I disagreed with that a little bit. That was the one I conceded on because I still think TCU is better than Colorado. But we have Colorado 9 and TCU 10. And then Baylor 11. Texas Tech crawled their way from the bottom, basically, after they who did they beat? Oh, my goodness. They put up 66 points.
North Texas, the Mean
Oh, yeah,
Green.
that's right. They put up, and they had 52 against them in the first half.
66-21. Pretty
impressive.
impressive.
Then
and the Washington State loss, when now you look at it, it's
not
bad.
How about this for your bottom four? You ready for this? Kansas at 13, Houston at 14, Cincinnati at 15, and we put the West Virginia Mountaineers at 16 just to say, hey, you know what? Maybe Neil Brown, maybe you and your guys have turned into that team that we thought you were going to be last year. I know that's probably they're probably not the worst team in the conference, but you know what they are right now is 1-2. So is Kansas. And I don't know what to think about those two teams.
There's no winless team in the Big 12 right now, so that's interesting.
Good for them.
West Virginia's losses are big to Penn State.
Yep.
Penn State struggled
Yes.
last week, so felt like West Virginia should have played that closer if they were
No
better.
idea what we're getting with that.
And
Plus,
they lose at Pitt by 4. Pitt's not good.
But by the way, they were up by 2.5 scores going into the fourth quarter. They blew it.
Geez.
They blew it. They were there. This game was in hand.
Yeah.
And they gave it up. And so that was another one. You melt down like that and you give up 14 points in the last 2.5 minutes, then that we dinged them quite a bit on that. I think that you're never going to see West Virginia at the very, very bottom, I don't think. I still think Houston's probably the worst team in the conference, but Houston, Cincinnati, I just am blown away by the fact that Kansas and Jeff Grimes' offense, well, maybe we shouldn't be that surprised. Jeff Grimes came in this year as a first-year coordinator, and they are suddenly, with all that talent, really bad. And Jalen Daniels does not look good at all.
No, they were way overrated. They can bounce back. They can turn it around. They have some talent, and their coach is great. But I don't think they have enough. And I always wondered why we were putting them in the top 5. I didn't feel like they belonged. But Arizona may turn out to be that way too. We'll have to see. Baylor, I thought they had a nice win this weekend. Air Force is always tough. We talked about how
Baylor's up from 13 to 11.
We kind of had them on upset alert a little bit because we talked about how you're never really prepared for a military academy, especially Air Force.
Right.
But Baylor handled them really well.
31-3? Is that
31-3?
Yeah, that's pretty. That was crazy to see them going.
It was only 6-3 at halftime. But then Baylor blows it open in the third quarter. They score 17.
How many yards rushing did Air Force end up with? Because I'm always interested to see what they do. Because obviously they don't throw the ball very much. But look at that.
Only 193. Now you're looking back at that Utah game and how Utah did run the ball pretty well against that Baylor front, and for Air Force to struggle to run against them.
Yeah.
Maybe that says a lot about Utah. I don't know. We talked about earlier, I think maybe even been during a break, the Baylor, while their quarterback is not very good and they don't throw the ball down the field well, they've got athletes and they got big bodies up front.
Okay, let me roll through the schedule for next week for the Big 12. You ready for this?
Yes.
Now they're all playing each other. Everybody's playing. I think everybody's playing conference games from here on out.
We've only had one conference matchup. That was TCU and UCF. And if the rest of these games are as good as that one was on Saturday, sign me up.
Iowa State had a bye, so their third out of conference game is going to be against Arkansas State. I think that's the only non-conference game of the week. Instead, you're getting into a Houston-Cincinnati game. You can go ahead and miss that one. It's a 10 a.m. kick on Saturday morning. Kansas goes to West Virginia. That Kansas team could walk away from there 1-3 on the season.
Wow.
They absolutely could. Because West Virginia feels like their backs are a little bit against the wall. They've been underperforming a little bit. They should have had their second win of the year. Instead, they gave it up late. I think Kansas goes in and loses that game against West Virginia there in West Virginia.
I also would pick West Virginia to win. Wouldn't that be something, a 1-3 Kansas team?
After we were like, probably the fifth or sixth best team in the conference. Iowa State's going to roll against Arkansas State. Fine, that's a noon kickoff. Arizona State goes to Texas Tech. By the way, this is 2 games in a row. They're going to middle of nowhere, Texas. Yes, Lubbock is middle of nowhere if you're going to try to at me with that. So is San Marcos.
It's as middle of nowhere as possible. It's literally in the middle of nowhere.
It's true. Utah, of course, going to Oklahoma State is a 2 p.m. kickoff on the Big Fox. And you know what? That, frankly, could be the best game of the whole week across the entirety of college football.
We circled that the second the Big 12 schedules came out.
And it's delivering because they're both 3-0. They're both what did Oklahoma State end up in the AP poll? Are they 13 still?
They're 14th.
14. So it's
you got
12.
Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State.
So it's 12 versus 14. 12 going to 14. That's a marquee matchup, and it's your first one of your entire Big 12 start, and that's an interesting one. TCU goes to SMU. I guess that one's out of conference, but that one's the battle of the DFW area. Baylor goes to Colorado. I have no idea which one of those teams is going to give that game away, but one of them will. And then Kansas State for the nightcap. Kansas State goes to BYU. That's a late kick. Do you subscribe to the 9:30 body clock theory of, man, the Kansas State Wildcats are going to have to be playing late? They're not used to being up this late.
No.
I always hate that crap.
No, they'll be ready to play. They're a really good football team. They're locked in. The win on Friday showed me what they're all about. You're playing a Big 12 team, even though it didn't count in the standings, and you dominate them pretty thoroughly. Kansas State looks good and looks like a contender. But you're going to Provo, a place they've never been to before. At least they played BYU, but not in that setting. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how BYU responds. Kansas State will be good. How good will BYU be? And will BYU's defense give them a chance? We burn a lot of calories on the Retzlaff and the quarterback discussion, and for good reason, but we haven't talked enough about how good that BYU defense has been. Again, got a sack up in Laramie. They caused a lot of problems for that quarterback who did not throw the ball very well, but they didn't allow them to get going in the run game at all, which is where they could have done some damage against BYU. 3 games into the season, it looks like that BYU defense is going to keep them in every single game. I'm really curious to see how that defense stacks up against an offense like Kansas State with a quarterback like Avery Johnson and a running back like Giddens, who's off to a great start this year. 324 yards and a touchdown. BYU's going to have their hands full in the run game, and Johnson, he can throw the ball. It's not his strength. I think right now, at this point in his career,
running the ball.
You look at how he runs, but he can throw. He can hurt you with his arm too. And that BYU defense is going to be stretched like we haven't seen yet this year. And so how are they going to respond to that?
By the way, let me see here. I'm trying to see how many yards does R.J. Harvey have already this year? Because that's a guy who right now 448 yards.
Yeah,
448 yards and 8 touchdowns. He averages 7.8 yards a carry. Over 60 carries already this year. So
everyone was talking about KJ Jefferson, blah, blah, blah. Well, that team, they run the ball.
Yeah.
And they run it as good as anybody in the country. And both BYU and Utah better be ready when it's time to play UCF. So both have to go to Orlando, correct?
Yes. Both are on the road in Orlando. R.J. Harvey, by the way, ran for 1,400 yards last year. Like quietly is, and by the way, that's good enough for a 6.5-point average over an entire season. So Ollie Gordon might be the 3rd or 4th best running back in this conference this year.
And he's a Doak Walker Award winner.
And he is the sitting Doak Walker Award winner currently. All right, stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, you know what that music means. It's your NFL Blitz right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen. Together, we make up the duo of JJ and Alex. JJ, what's that Monday Night Football matchup tonight?
Eagles, Falcons.
Oh.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
All sorts of birds. You know what that means?
The bird is the word.
Britton Covey on the Eagles side of things. Tyler Algier on the on the other
Clark
side.
Phillips, the third.
Which Ellis brother is it on the Falcons? Plays linebacker.
That is Caden.
Caden.
Yep.
So you got some names in there. Got to watch that. By the way, the interesting thing about I guess watching this whole Aaron Rodgers experiment, right? And that's what it is. I mean, frankly, it's just it's an experiment. But because the Jets won yesterday, all I had to hear about was his first career win as a Jet. I don't know if I'm buying into the hype of the Jets, but he did throw a couple touchdowns. But
no hard pass, no.
You're not in? You're not. This
No.
isn't your team?
No.
Okay. All right. 0-2 teams in the league. You ready for them?
Yes.
Ravens, Bengals, Jags, Rams. Would you have imagined? By the way, the Rams got bad news today on Cooper Kupp. Did you see this?
Yes.
Ankle. So they're out Puka Nacua already for a month, at
This is
least.
starting to feel like 2 years ago for the Rams when everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp, ankle injury yesterday. He's going to be out. I think that Sean McVay said an extended period of time, right? They didn't say not indefinitely, but not 2 weeks. He's probably going to be placed on IR. I don't know if they have placed him there yet, but not good if you're a Rams fan. But yeah, Ravens, Bengals, Jags, and Rams. Those are half of those teams at least were in the conversation to be overperforming and going to the playoffs. And I may or may have not had the Rams in the NFC Championship game, like an idiot.
Yeah. I told you I was down on the Jags, too. I'm not sold. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has struggled so far this year. In fact, I think he's 0-6 in his last 6 starts.
Speaking of Ofer, Bryce Young is getting the hook, and the Panthers are going to go with Andy Dalton, former TCU Horned Frog Ginger. I don't know if this is the Panthers are just abysmal, man. It just is. I don't know what to think about that team.
They have no talent.
That they're not very good. And I will say that last night, I know we should be excited about. I was actually very excited about the matchup. I was excited to see Caleb Williams. I like watching C.J. Stroud play. He's awesome. But, man, that was a little bit of a dog of a game.
It was gross.
19-13.
Yeah.
There's a lot of defense being played, and Caleb Williams looked like garbage.
I was excited about it because you had 2 great quarterbacks, and it was on KSL last night. We're excited about that. But here's the harsh truth. That game was not easy on the eyes at times. And Caleb Williams, I mean, you talk about rookie quarterbacks, and C.J. Stroud, it was pretty unfair what he did last year because now everybody else thinks that rookie quarterbacks should come in and just right out of the gate be great. And look at across the board. Is there a rookie quarterback right now that's just absolutely killing it? Because several are getting starts. You got Bo Nix in Denver, right? You've got Caleb Williams. And who else is Jaden Daniels?
Yes.
None of them are just lighting the world on fire so far. And, maybe the Patriots were right to wait on Drake May. So, and of course, J.J. McCarthy's out for the year.
Let me throw these teams out here. These are the teams that are 2-0. The Saints are 2-0. You believe in what the Saints are doing? 91 points over 2 games.
It's the be able to light the scoreboard up like that. Their offense is dynamic. It's balanced. You've got great running backs. You've got great receivers. They're doing it in a lot of different ways. And Derek Carr looks like his best self. I believe in the Saints.
And I told you guys, watch out. Dennis Allen's a great coach. I didn't tell you that, actually. I was like, this guy's not going to be a coach very much longer in the league.
He looks good
right
now.
They're rolling right now. The Steelers are 2-0. I mean, are we?
That's an interesting one.
I have no idea what to think about that team.
So did you think the Steelers would be 2-0 and the Ravens 0-2 after 2 weeks?
No.
The Bengals and the Ravens are 0-2, and I picked both to go to the playoffs.
How about the Texans, who it's not surprising that they're 2-0, but it's funny because we, like, from one year to the next, last year, CJ Stroud, you talked about it, the expectations are probably it's not good because then we go, oh, yeah, the Texans, they should be 2-0. Actually, they look like crap against the Bears.
Right.
It's like, this is the freaking Houston Texans, man. We don't ever heap praise on those guys, but when they sneak in the playoffs, get a playoff win last year, have a phenomenal rookie quarterback campaign from C.J. Stroud, there you go. Hey, how about the Vikings beating the 49ers yesterday? I did not have that one in the cards.
Another team, you're like, wow, I did not see that coming. I thought they were going to get shellacked yesterday.
Leading the NFC North, JJ.
What? What?
Because I
thought the Vikings were going to stink this year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Man, Sam Darnold looks pretty good. We talk about throwing quarterbacks away too early. Sam Darnold was almost out of the league. And Baker Mayfield has the Bucs 2-0.
I was going to say.
He was almost out of the league. And now you have these two guys look like two of the best quarterbacks in the league right now.
Hey, how about Geno Smith? Another guy. Throw him in there. Seattle's 2-0.
Another great story.
Wild. All right. Yeah, I'm just I have no idea what to think. This is why we like the NFL. This is why you can't handicap the NFL very well either, because how are you supposed to know that the Ravens, Bengals, Jags, and Rams were all going to be a combined 0-8?
Which of those teams make the playoffs?
As soon as they hit 0-3, the numbers get extremely difficult to make the playoffs. The way that the Bengals played the Chiefs yesterday, I'd have to think that they are. The Rams' injuries by themselves make me just go, you know what, reset this one.
That's not
so they're out. I think the Jags are exactly what you said, too. I mean, they have a chance to figure it out. But of those teams, Bengals 1, Ravens 2, Jags 3, Rams 4. That's my –
Guess who the Rams play this week?
Who?
49ers.
Oh. Who do the Saints play this week? Now I'm interested because I know I'm going – because as soon as the Saints start to roll, maybe they get a little bit of – but, of course, you know, like in true NFL form, the Saints are going to lose to like they're playing the Eagles next week? Okay.
Big test.
Oh, at the Mercedes Superdome? All right.
That'll be a good game.
That should be a fun
great.
one.
Yeah.
That should be a really fun one. How about the Chargers and Steelers? What am I supposed to think of Jim Harbaugh going 2-0 too?
He just wins, man.
What are we supposed to do?
Wins.
You're freaking AFC West, man. Oh, I will say.
J.K. Dobbins, who Ravens threw on the trash heap, is one of the best running backs in the leagues after 2 games.
Hey,
266 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Hey, Jeremy. At some point, we have to find, as an evergreen piece of sound, when your guy Bo Nix was asked yesterday about an interception that he threw, did you see the sound?
Yes.
He goes, did you see the sound? That was the dumbest question I've ever asked. Did you? So he was asked at his press conference, hey, so walk us through that interception. First of all, don't you hate fellow media members sometimes? Hey,
don't ever talk about or walk through. Just ask a question.
Walk us through that interception. Yeah, drop back, threw it to the other team. That was the exact quote. Yeah, drop back, threw it to the other team.
He answered the question.
Bo, can you take us through the interception in the end zone?
Drop back, threw it to the other team.
With a little bit of that southern drawl.
That's a fact.
That Alabama background. Yeah, drop back through to the other team. Back to you. All right.
Roll Tide.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go right around the corner. Stay with us. Oh, we got some stuff to give away? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's a Monday, so It
is a Monday. All right, so here's what we do. Every Monday on DJ and PK in the morning, they give out the Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers Play of the Weekend. They did that today, and if you can remember or recall what that was, and you give us a call right now, caller number 12 gets a nice Amazon gift card. So there you go. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663. Jeremy, do you have any hints for the people out there?
I'll give an interesting hint if you'd like.
Oh, boy.
Well, I cannot give a hint either, so.
Okay, fine. Oh, look, now he's trying to withhold. All right, what do you have?
So it was a play in football. This person scored a very long play. They ran over 120 yards to score the touchdown.
Okay.
So if that helps
you.
It
was a play in sports.
But then it got very specific.
It did.
What a hint.
All right. There you go. Jeremy getting specific on that one. You could definitely do it. All right. 801-575-ZONE. The winner of that one, caller number 12, gets a Amazon gift card. There you go. Courtesy of your Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers. So there you go. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We are at Advanced Window Products today. And we're going to chat with Nate and Jake in just a moment here. Before we do, though, best and worst brought to you by the folks at the Doug Smith dealerships at American Fork and Spanish Fork. An incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. If it's got fork in the name, you can go to Doug Smith dealerships. There you go. All right. Best and worst. Let's go best first. How about 7 field goals by Austin Sabert yesterday for the Washington Commanders. They carried him off the field, Rudy style, when they beat the Giants 21-18. Talk about a dog of a game, by the way. 21-18, but he hit 7 field goals. That's enough to get you the win, and that's exactly what they got. The Commanders beat the Giants, and there you go. The worst of the weekend, how about your Florida State Seminoles, who are now 0-3 after losing to Memphis? By the way, paying Memphis $1.4 million to get them. Yeah, that's a tough one. Coach Mike Norvell still says that DJU gives him the best chance to win. Really? There's not a backup like 5-star quarterback or something like that waiting in the wings? Come on, let's figure it out. So there's your best and worst.